Good morning, everyone. My name is Sherrell Byrd. I'm the Executive Director of Sowega Rising, and I'm so excited to have this opportunity to present to you today how to be an advocate for a cause or your community, whichever one. I will not get much into policies and the actual state side of advocacy because I know I'm going to throw an alley-oop to Dr. Bambi and she's going to take that part of it. But I do want to share really quickly that a lot of times people think, I always tell people advocacy that we typically see in the public is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so many things that happen underneath the surface that people don't see. And so I want to talk today about just some strategies that you can employ to advocate or to build advocacy campaigns that are successful. So a little bit about our organization with Sowega Rising. It's a nonprofit, nonpartisan advocacy organization. We were founded in 2019, and our mission is to mobilize people and resources to improve the quality of life, well-being, and political power of marginalized Southwest Georgians. To date, we've mobilized over 250 organizations, and we've moved about $10.2 million to the Southwest Georgia region. So what is advocacy? We're going to jump right into it. Advocacy is a service that helps people express their views, understand their rights, and take action to create change. So basically, we provide a service to the public. A lot of people don't see it that way, but we're actually providing a service, and it can include or involve promoting a cause or the interests of a group or individual. And can include so many different types of activities like researching solutions, creating coalitions, public campaigning, and speaking to decision makers. And so that's what I want to delve into today. What advocacy is not really quickly is it's not infantilizing people. So we don't make people feel small if they don't understand something that we're advocating on. Our job is to educate them and bring them up to that level. We're not saviors. We can't do everything. We can't solve everything. We don't give personal opinions, even though we may feel some way about a certain subject. Our job is to educate and to hear what others have to say about it. We don't make decisions for others. We don't pass judgment on others. We're certainly not legal experts or medical experts. We don't apply for benefits or help people apply for benefits. We are about empowering people. So we are not an agency that applies for help people apply for benefits. And then most importantly, we're nonpartisan. So we don't speak to a specific political candidate or a specific political party. All right, so some of the strategies I want to talk about today, I'm going to try to get through these quickly for sake of time, is agenda and policy setting, doing needs assessment, research, education. I'm just going to jump into it. Um, so the first is agenda and policy setting. So what is it that you're seeking to address? Like getting really clear on what specific thing you want to try to resolve. And then why is this an issue of importance? Who does this impact? And then what do you think will change it? Do you need money for it? Do you need a policy for it? A lot of times, and I want to speak specifically today to housing. Housing is such a big and overwhelming issue. There's so many problems and so many things that need to be resolved with the issue of housing. Do you need a housing development? Do you need policies that help tenants have rights or more rights? Do you need coding, code enforcement type things? What is the specific thing that you want to address around housing? Get very clear on that so that you can come up with kind of a statement like, this is what, if we had this, then this would happen. And then what is it that you think will change that issue? Do you need money? Do you need a policy? And then the most important thing that I'll say to folks too is like, talk to the community around you and ask them, like, what is it that they need around that specific issue as well? Um, and that's the next thing is the needs assessment. Have you spoken to the people and asked them what they need? A lot of times people don't start with this. And so they'll get angry or upset, or I've seen a lot of people like lose steam because they did not ask the community, hey, we want to put a housing development in your area. Well, people may not want a housing development because their property taxes might go up, or they may feel like, we don't want those people in our neighborhood. I've heard that before. So talk to the community and find out if this is what they need. And then define the problem together. Like talk to them about what do you think the problem is? And then who's your target population? Everything is not for everyone. So if you want an affordable housing development, who would benefit from an affordable housing development? Who are the type of people that you want to see in that development? And then define what your theory of change is. And again, that's that if then statement. So if we were to bring this issue, or if we were to have new housing codes that would support tiny homes, then we believe that people would have affordable access to housing. Like that's an if then statement. So define your theory of change. And then is there data to support your issue? And so are you clear on why this is a problem? Have you done the data, gotten the research to help you to understand the depths of the problem that you're trying to solve? Unfortunately, when you're dealing with certain power structures, they want to see all the charts, the diagrams, the data, the facts, the figures, everything to be able to support your cause. And so you want to make sure you have all of that and you've done your research. The third step is, again, doing the research and education. So, has this issue been fought before? Have you seen other instances where the same thing that you're trying to do has been done successfully across the country, or even unsuccessfully, where you can learn from what they should have done differently? Are there any studies or articles to support your issue? Right, and there's a lot of there's a lot of studies out there on housing. Um, and how it benefits certain communities, or the lack of housing and how it doesn't benefit certain areas. And so or if you're specifically focusing on rural housing, like finding articles that support what you're trying to fight. Are there any similar policies or bills about this issue? So if you're trying to push for a bill or policy, see if there's other communities that have policies or bills around this issue too. Maybe you can use that as a guide to forming your policy or bill. Or are there already policies or bills that are already like moving through your local commission or your state legislature that you may not be aware of that would support your issue, and you can just get behind those. And then again, I gotta stress data, data, data. Make sure you find as much data as possible to support your issue. Power mapping is very important. So now that we've defined the problem, we've talked to the community, we've done our research, who now is the person that we target, or the people that we target for this issue? So who caused the issue? Who created the problem? There's always a wizard behind the curtain that was pulling the levers that created this problem. Who are the decision makers? Who are the people that have the power to change this issue or to do something about it? So that could be your legislators, your local commissioners, your housing authority. But sit down and really like dig deep and say, who are all the people, the power players that created this problem and have the power to change it? And that power that we're talking about, again, could be policy change, it could be money, it could be even raising awareness and visibility, right? So tapping into your local media and allowing them to also, they sometimes they can be a part of the problem or a part of the solution as well. The next is organizing. So, starting in the world of organizing, we start as it is. And so, this is an exercise that we do commonly. It's really simple. You just write as it is on a big sheet of paper. And then you talk about honestly, what is the problem? What is it as it is? And then what should it be? How do we want to get it to where it should be? And just kind of mapping out, like what do we want to see around this issue? If we had all the money or we had all the policies, what would we want it to be? And then strategy, coming up with a strategy to address this issue. So, strategy is turning what you have into what you need to get what you want. So, what do you have accessible to you? Are you a part of a church? Are you part of a fraternity or sorority where you have like groups of people that can get behind you? Are you part of a neighborhood association where you all can come together and plan how to get what you want? Um, so if you're a part of, just for example, a neighborhood association, and you get those people to sit down and you start strategizing, what is it that we need to get what we want? That's organizing. Organizing groups of people is important. And then also building power to shape politics. How do you get that group then to educate them and to help them to build power so that they can shape politics? And all of this really is politics. A lot of people shy away from politics, but politics simply is the people and the decisions that shape your life. How do you get to be a part of that power structure so that you can shape those decisions to get what you need in your community? And then find out, what are the barriers? What barriers are there that exist to this being an equitable solution, or a solution that's based in justice or in liberation even. So what are those barriers that are blocking those things? So housing equity is a big thing. Why is it that some houses on one side of the community look totally different from another side of the community? And what are the barriers, right, that exist to creating that structure? So that's something that's, again, organizing digs deep into finding out what those things are and how you can address it. The next step is coalition building. So, who do you have with you? Who's behind you? So, what political leaders can you galvanize around housing issues that are like leaders in the housing space are already fighting, or the policymakers or the legislators? Are there any community organizations like Sowega Rising, like Georgia Act, that are out here fighting for housing justice? Are there any faith-based? There's a lot of churches that do housing initiatives. Like, can you align with them? Education, etc. Are there any funders? Who has the money to support your campaign that specifically fund housing issues? And so seeking those out, building groups of people, building coalitions, who are groups in your, again, your communities that are concerned about housing that you can pull in. And an easy way to do that is with sign-in sheets. If you're out doing events, or if you're just walking around doing one-on-ones with folks and people like, yeah, this is a major issue for me too, write their name down, write their phone number down, get them to commit to coming to a meeting and being a part of the work that you're trying to do. That's how you build. You cannot do this work alone. We have a saying in our organization, alone I can go faster, but together we can go farther. And you have to have people behind you if you want these campaigns to go far and be successful. The next one is power building. So this is where you start to gain power and you start to galvanize people behind this issue. So creating education campaigns, posting things on your social media page, like giving people information and facts and figures, doing community town halls, like where you're bringing groups of people in to talk about the issue, having forums and seminars, again, to educate people, doing op-eds in your local newspaper or editorials, so that you can get people in the media to hear about this issue and why it's important. Story collection is one of the most powerful tools you have in organizing. Hearing people's lived experience and what they've gone through or what they're experiencing is so powerful. You'll hear a lot of political leaders say, hey, we want to hear from our constituents. So collecting those powerful stories of people that have housing issues, tenants issues, landlord issues is so incredibly important. Doing a podcast or even a Zoom webinar, getting groups and masses of people to hear why this is important will also help to build power. The next step is advocacy. So this is where we now advocate, right? This is where we show up. So attending those city council meetings, making presentations to those leaders, letting them know, bringing and making sure you have your coalition with you. So you're coming out in large numbers and they're able to see just how important this issue is. Participating in public hearings, so like allowing people to share their voices. We've even trained people like this is how you do a public hearing so that we could have masses and masses of people saying how they feel on the issue. Also having one-on-ones with those political leaders and those stakeholders, showing up at their offices, talking to their staff, their representatives, or your representative directly, and talking to them about the issue. Sending emails and making phone calls. So maybe you can't go all the way up to the state capitol or to DC, but you can always send an email or a phone call. I just heard a state representative last week say if he gets 5 emails on one specific issue, he knows it's a problem. So getting other people to help make phone calls and send emails with you. And then, of course, attending advocacy days. A lot of our organizations like Georgia Act, they do huge housing advocacy days where we all flood the state capitol and we're letting them all know in one collective voice how we feel about housing. So organizing your own advocacy days, not easy, but it's something that does actually help build a lot of power. The next one is community engagement. So this is what most people see. As you see before, there were 8 other steps before we got to the community engagement piece. But what most people tend to see are these public facing events. So after you've done the diplomacy, you've talked to the leaders, you're still not getting them to budge, you're still not getting them to move on that issue. It may be now time to take to the streets. And so that's where the rallies and the protests come in because now you're getting visibility and now you're agitating. And so they're going to see that and they're going to say, okay, okay, fine, we'll talk to you. Also, voter engagement is community engagement, getting folks to vote on an issue, to show up to the polls in large numbers so that you can get certain things passed that would benefit your cause. Having mass meetings, if you all remember the civil rights movement, mass meetings are still, it's still a valuable tool to community engagement. Sign on letters, getting folks to sign letters in large numbers and send that up to these leaders. Petitions, community events, and surveys, all of those are ways to get the community engaged around a cause. And then finally, well, this is not finally, but an important piece of this is to evaluate your work. A lot of times people don't actually stop and say, how did we do? How do we know we were successful? This is what funders want to see, especially, is like they want to know you were successful and how. So what were your survey results? Did you have high voter turnout around that issue? Did you get the policy or the bill passed? Were you able to raise the money? How you measure your impact is what's going to be critical to you not only learning from this process and being able to be more successful the next time, but so you can also get other people to support your causes in the future. And then reflection. This is so huge as well. Like reflecting on how did we get the thing, and let's celebrate that with the community. Or if you didn't get the thing, how do we regroup? Just because you didn't win that one doesn't mean you won't win the next one. So how do you regroup? What can you change about your campaign? So holding celebration events if you did win, so the community knows we did that, and they're going to be more empowered to come back for the next one. I'll also say documentaries are a great way to reflect so that you have something that tracks everything that you did, and you can use that also as a tool to say, this is how we did this is how we won in our community. And you have a living, existing thing that shows how you were able to go about winning your cause. And then also news articles, like posting a post release or a post article that shares with the community, this is what we did collectively and this is what we won. And then the most important to me is resting and reflecting. How do you heal? If you didn't win that fight, how do you heal yourself? How do you heal the community? And then also starting to reflect on what and when is our next fight, right? We want to stay in this fight. We got to continue to do the work. And then what were some lessons learned from the previous fight? And then how do I feel afterwards? Do I feel more liberated after this fight? Even if you didn't win, do you feel more empowered? And do you feel more connected or divided as a community afterwards? If you're feeling more divided as a community, you really want to take a step back and say, this wasn't a good idea, because these campaigns should bring the communities together around a cause and not divide your community. That is all that I have. I know that's probably beyond my time, but those are again some few strategies and tips that help you build successful campaigns in your community that win. And even if they don't win, they should be lessons on how you can galvanize even more. So I will pause there because I know we have other people, Dr. Bailey, I think is behind me. So thank you for your time.